After leading his hometown Cavs to their first championship in franchise history, LeBron James was named Sportsperson of the Year by Sports Illustrated. He also won the award in 2012 and joins Tiger Woods as the only two-time winner. Stephen A., your reaction?
Well, first of all, he deserves it. To bring a title back to Cleveland, the city of Cleveland and Northeast Ohio for the first time since 1964 in any professional sport, that was an historic accomplishment, no doubt. But it's also something that he deserves so much credit for because it's what he came back to do. He accomplished the mission. There was always adversity along the way. But I think that when you look at an award like this, it's not just for your accomplishments on the court. It's who you are in its totality. You're going to have critics out there who believe that LeBron James, they're going to question his authenticity. They're going to question, how real he is or whatever the case may be, because that's just what critics do. But what they're failing to realize if they do that is truly appreciating the impact and the magnitude of the impact that he has. This is not just a guy that restored faith and restored us, just resurrected and revitalized the sports town. This is a guy that had money poured into the economy. This is a guy that's facilitating kids and inner city youth getting an education because through his foundation, he's facilitating thousands of kids ultimately being able to receive the education. And no matter what you want to say about him, no matter what you think about him, no matter what people will try to come forth and say about him, in the end, you must judge two things. A, his deeds, and two, the undeniable impact that it has. This guy is a role model. When we look at guys and how they conduct themselves on far too many occasions, we see the wrong kind of stories. A lot of them are out there doing the right things, but rarely have you seen a global iconic figure of this magnitude in LeBron James, who has taken it upon himself to tackle the issues that he has tackled, to take the positions that he has taken, to be public with it, to open himself up to scrutiny because of it, and to be willing to do so anyway. So for him to receive this award, I think it's incredibly special. I think he deserves it. And I think it's just another, example of why he is considered the best on the planet. Just overall, we should all be proud of him. But as a black man, I'm specifically and very, very much so proud of him because when you think about a sports model, a role model in the world of sports, particularly one coming from the community from whence he comes from, it's just a great, great thing to see. It really is.
I have a couple of things to say here. I think you covered his the importance of his social impact. And I've always thought about LeBron, when you have that kind of talent, oftentimes it winds up isolating the individual. And LeBron has always used, from a young age, it seems to me, his talent to uplift those around him. He hasn't allowed it to isolate him. It even comes out in his play. As he was coming up, it's like Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan had a baby, right? And that turns some people off because he wasn't the killer that Kobe was or that Jordan was in quite the same way. And it turns some people off because he came up so small in Miami in the finals in those fourth quarters. And they thought like, well, that ship has sailed on LeBron. I just want to say, I want to make it a little bit about LeBron, the player here. And for the haters of LeBron James, and there are a lot out there, and maybe it's because he's a roadblock for your team, you're a Warriors fan or something like that. I get that. That's okay. You can hate on him for that. But I mean for everyone else. It's weird how we develop these allegiances to certain athletes out of market. They don't play for our team. They're just stars. And we hate on others. Like, who knows why? They rub you the wrong way, or they come up small in the finals, or you think they get too much attention on the way up, or you're a Kobe fan and you don't like LeBron at a certain point starting to take his shine. Whatever that is that has you hating on LeBron, again, unless he's a roadblock, you're a Warriors fan or something like that, just give it up. Don't do it because there's no future in front of him. And the main thing is, you're just hurting yourself. I've experienced this. When I was a kid, there were athletes I hated on irrationally. We all have this as sports fans. And one day, you know what happens? They're not there anymore. And you missed it. You didn't get to enjoy it. I just want to talk to the irrational LeBron haters out there, especially the younger people who haven't experienced like a generation of athletes yet. Enjoy this. Don't hate on the guy. Try to get over it. don't front on him, because the only person you're hurting is yourself. This guy is amazing.
Well, let me close it by saying this, Max. The reason why you bring up one's blackness in my instance is that we saw Tiger Woods as a two-time winner under there. Tiger Woods is the greatest golfer I've ever seen. He's probably the greatest ever. He's accomplished tremendous things. He was also an individual that publicly tried to disassociate himself from his own blackness. And that's something that resonates with the black community. I'm not asking you that, I'm telling you. LeBron James never tried to do that. Not one time. He is unapologetically himself. He is somebody that embraces himself, his culture. He remembers where he comes from. And that's the level of pride that somebody like me can sit on national television and fully appreciate. I thank him for that. Nobody's perfect. And I'm quite sure there are things that I'll be critical about him watching his basketball play. But make no mistake about it, I have profound respect and admiration and appreciation for what he means to basketball and what he means to our community and what he means to this world as a global sports iconic figure. This is a special, special man.
It is irrational to feel any way else about LeBron. It's not rational.
I heard you. Don't hurt yourself. We're telling those people out there. And unlike our earlier MVP debate, this one, absolutely a no-brainer. I want to stay in the association now, though, guys. Two of the NBA's best young stars each put on a show last night in Minnesota. Last year's #1 overall pick, Karl Anthony Run This Town, scored 47 points and posted 18 rebounds, while the #4 overall pick from 2015, Kristaps Porzingis, had 29 points and 8 rebounds. Hotline Zing squad got the best of Towns as the Knicks pulled out the 106-104 victory. Max, who would you rather have moving forward, Towns or Porzingis?
The answer is Kristaps Porzingis.
Really?
Now, Karl Anthony Towns is a better player right now, all that stuff. I'll leave that to you, Stephen A., if you want to argue that. Here's the bottom line about Kristaps Porzingis. He is the kind of player that in a couple of years, the Eastern Conference, going into every single offseason, every single GM in the Eastern Conference is going to be faced with the same question. How do we deal with Porzingis? He is 7'3" and can shoot the three this year. It's only his second season at a 40% clip. He can play defense. He can control the paint. He can step out on guys. I mean, he can close out on shooters. He can put the ball on the floor against any big man, any center, facing up. He can do all kinds of things that no one who's ever lived at that height can do. No one who has ever lived at that height can do. And Karl Anthony Towns, amazing overall talent, the whole thing. And strategically, I get it. He's a souped-up Draymond Green, way souped up, and the Western Conference is going to have to deal with him. But Kristaps Porzingis is going to be a mismatch for everyone he plays for the rest of his career. And I think the only thing stopping him from being the dominant force in the NBA one day is health. If he can stay healthy, it's his world.
Well, listen. First of all, I appreciate you acknowledging he's not better than Karl Anthony Towns yet, #1. #2, Kristaps Porzingis is somebody, listen, I jumped all over Phil Jackson when he drafted the guy, but it's because I had never seen him, and Phil Jackson was talking about how he's a project for 3 or 4 years. So people thought I was attacking the player, and I wasn't doing any such thing. I was simply going by Phil Jackson's words that it's going to take 3 or 4 years for this guy to develop, and I was like, who the hell said the Knicks got 3 or 4 years? That was what I was attacking. But having said all of that, let's be clear. Karl Anthony Towns is a stud. He is 7 feet. It ain't like he's some 6-foot guard or something like that. Yeah, Porzingis is 7'3", but Karl Anthony Towns is 7 feet. He can play with his back to the basket. Porzingis really can't. He can shoot. He can get his shot off, no question about it. I love the fact that Porzingis also blocks shots, but Karl Anthony Towns can do it all. He was a guy that was considered relatively soft in high school because he was too busy shooting jumpers, and then he went to Kentucky and Calipari made it clear to him, you better not shoot any damn jumpers when you here. We gonna put your behind down low. And he helped that boy develop a post game, which is why he ended up being the #1 overall pick. Karl Anthony Towns is somebody I slept on as well. This brother's legit. He's big time. He's a go-to guy. He's a #1 offensive option. And the same arguments that you made in terms of teams in a conference having to watch out for him. How are we going to deal with this guy? This guy being able to guard not just down low, but away from the perimeter. These are all things you could also say about Karl Anthony Towns. So what I would say to you is that considering that they're both the same age, that they both have youth on their side, that they're both 7 feet and above, I'm going to take the Karl Anthony Towns that can play with his back to the basket as well as facing the basket. He ain't the shooter that Porzingis is, no doubt about that. But he's pretty good.
You know what it reminds me of, Stephen A? You know what it reminds me of?
It's right up in the air, though. It's close.
I agree. You know what it reminds me of in its way is Shaq and Olajuwon. I'm not saying that their games are exactly the same, but obviously in Porzingis and Shaq's case. But Olajuwon was the more complete player, the better player. I thought he was better than Shaq. But somehow, Shaq was the more dominating force. Shaq was the guy that the whole league had to figure out what to do with, who you had to devote more resources to. To me,
yeah, but so what are you saying?
I'm saying that Towns is Olajuwon, and Porzingis, not in terms of style of play, but in terms of potential of the force he can be, is more like Shaq. In this case, his height and his shot make him unguardable and unstoppable potentially.
Hold on, because I got a question for you. I'm really interested in knowing your answer to this. You know I know that Shaq is the most dominant force of my lifetime.
Right.
Okay? That's what I consider Shaquille O'Neal to be.
Sure.
Shaquille O'Neal never won a title with Penny Hardaway. All right? Had Eddie Jones, Van Exel, and all of these boys. Couldn't win a title with them. Won a title with Kobe. Olajuwon, who did he have? None but love for my brother Kenny Smith now. Okay? We appreciate Robert Horry. All right? We got Otis Thorpe. All right? Mario Elie. Still love him to this very day. You know, but none of them were Kobe. So when we say Shaq and then we say Olajuwon, what I'm saying is we can't ignore it, but the flip side to it is that, excuse me, Olajuwon never had a Kobe.
On the same page.
Clyde Drexler jumped on the wagon later on, but I'm just saying the point is he had that Kobe.
Stephen A, we're on the same page. That's why at the time, look, my late great brother Sam used to talk about this. When Jordan retired, it's like, okay, here's the parallel universe. Who is the best player in the world in a parallel universe without Michael Jordan? And was it Shaquille O'Neal? No, it was Hakeem Olajuwon. He was the best player in the universe, and Shaq was crewed deep back then. Penny and all those guys in Orlando, and it didn't matter. They got destroyed. So I understand. That's what I'm saying. This is why it's a tough argument, because Karl Anthony Towns is more like the Olajuwon, not as physically freakish, but a better overall player. But in the end, who do you really want? The physical freak who you just can't stop, I think, here.
I got it, but the difference is that the dominance in terms of Shaquille O'Neal, there was a huge discrepancy in terms of pure dominance, physical dominance between Shaq and Olajuwon. In the case of Karl Anthony Towns and Porzingis, I don't think that gap exists, and that's what I'm saying.
Maybe 7'3", though, brother. 7'3". Ugh.
Guys,
he's open. He's open all day at every point.
Gentlemen, we got to move on.